And of course, in investing in the future, you need power. In getting power, you need food. In getting food, we need to invest in agriculture. Good afternoon, Lagos, and good afternoon, Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Lagos Farmers. And of course, this program airs every Friday afternoon at 4:30. This afternoon on the program, we shall be delving into the nation's most important crop, the most important staple. You might wonder or even argue that how is it the most important? But I bet you have eaten rice this week. There's nothing you can tell me. You cannot tell me otherwise. Okay, so this afternoon on the show, we shall be focusing on rice. From improved seed varieties to smart farming techniques and market opportunities, we are here to help you, in Lagos, grow, harvest, store, and of course, get it to the consumers. All right, I have my guest seated with me in the studio. Dr. Oluwarotimi Fashola is my guest. He is the special advisor to Mr. Governor on agriculture and food systems. He's going to be answering questions this afternoon, providing solution to all your concerns. So you can get your notepads ready. If you have a question, if you have any concern, you can actually reach out to us on the show this afternoon. My co-anchor on the show this afternoon is Abimbola Shakira Majolagbe. She is my co-anchor. Good afternoon, everyone. To you.
Good evening, good afternoon.
All right, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Dr. Oluwarotimi Fashola, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Let's get down to business. Talk to us about rice production in Lagos. First off, I'm sure someone is wondering out the rice production in Lagos. Who eats local rice except for those who are being given as a gift? Talk to me about rice production in Lagos.
Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon, Lagos. Who eats rice? Everybody does. Rice is a stabilizer. Rice is our number one crop. We are an urban society, and because we are an urban society, almost always on the move,
True.
Rice is that food that everybody eats. It's no longer a Sunday medicine. It's no longer that. Lagos State actually has the highest consumption pattern when it comes to rice. In the technical terms, we'd say that we have 40 kilograms per person per year. And in some homes, it's even much more than that. So everybody eats right. And if everybody eats right, we need to do something about rice, because food security is social security. That is very important.
So talk to me about what the Lagos State government is doing in rice production.
Yes, so we also need to understand the fact that Lagos is just 1% of the entire landmass of the state, of the country, Nigeria.
Okay.
So we don't have that much of land. But we still do quite a number of production in rice in the areas of the west part of Lagos State, the east and the far east of Lagos State. Actually, time immemorial, Ise and its environ had offered rice. What we have done is that we had modernized production of rice to having cultivars of modern rice cultivation. In other words, we now have rice that are not just of fodder, but rice grains that are common to urban society. In the technical terms, we call them the farrow series.
Okay.
The farrow series are medium to long grain varieties, and not short grains as you have in fodder. And we now grow them in and around Lagos, right from Ise to Itoiki, right through to Badagry, Apa, Angori, and all that. So we have clusters of land. But beyond that, and because of the size of land on Lagos State, we even go beyond the state. So we're not limiting our production to the state alone. We have production partnership with other states across Nigeria.
Talk to me about the quantity of rice we produce in Lagos right now, because it appears we still depend so much on foreign rice, or even brought in from other states.
I'm sure you know that in time past, rice restriction, which some people call
Ban.
had been in place. And because it was in place, there was a lot of production that emanates from the state and across Nigeria. At the height of production in Nigeria, we were going up to 12 million metric tons of rice, of paddy rice, what's the raw materials of rice across Nigeria. Lagos was, well, we were trying based on our small land size. We're doing about 5,000 to 10,000 metric tons of rice. We cannot grow all we need to eat, but we have to depend on our partnership. Niger State, Kwara State, Kebbi State, far north. We grow in partnership with many states that are rice producing states, because rice is very peculiar. Rice needs a lot of warmth, a lot of swamp, and a lot of water. So it's not just anywhere. Even though there are upland rice, the upland rice competes with other food production. So there is a minimal capacity for upland rice, but the lowland rice grows a lot more. However, with our population in the country and the population of Lagos, we will still have to do a lot of aggregation. Now, you mentioned about importation. Importation hitherto had been restricted and outrightly banned to an extent. Banned in the loose sense of it. If you have your money outside, yes. But we were not bringing in rice to Nigeria for a long time. And up till now, to a very large extent, you are only supposed to bring parboiled brown rice. Last year, because of the high cost of rice, paddy rice went to about over 800,000 per ton, and finished product went to over 100,000. Yes. Because of that, the government and the administration of our father, our president, relaxed the rule for parboiled brown rice.
You mentioned something earlier about rice, doing a lot better in swampy areas. What kind of vegetation do we have in Lagos? I know for a fact that farming would do well in Ekpe, it would do well in Ikorodu and Badagry. Those are arable areas. But every other part of Lagos is swampy. Can we, or should I say most parts of Lagos? When we talk about erecting structures, we are afraid because we have to pay keen attention on materials and everything because of the nature or the topography of the soil. Now, what is the nexus between this soil and rice production?
Thank you. The correlation between swamps and rice production varies. Not all swamps are rice producing. And some of our swamps are actual buffer zones. They are buffer zones against flooding. So there are wetlands that are designated to be preserved, even though some of them were being bastardized. Because if we do not have a careful monitoring of our wetland soils and wetland swamps and keep some of them, we will have problem with drainage, which we have. So Badagry, Ekpe, Ikorodu, they are more suitable to rice cultivation than what we will call the urban settlement. However, also we need to consider the cost of land clearing, because you want to produce rice where it is sustainable, where your cost will not outweigh your production cost, and where you can sustain it. And that's why we manage the economics of the land itself and the economics of production. Even when it comes to Lagos, look at, because of the urban nature of who we are, cost of labor is also very expensive.
Very expensive.
So you need to bring in machines. Again, machines are quite expensive. So that's why we do minimal, and we auto outsource to areas that had cheaper land clearing forms, cheaper labor. Labor in Lagos, for example, will go from 7,000 to 15,000, depending on what kind of job you want them to do. In a place like Niger State, there are 3,000, some are even 1,000, some are 2,000. Land clearing in Lagos goes into millions because of the nature of our swampland. Land clearing in the north is almost next to nothing.
Wow.
So we need to balance the economics of this. Otherwise, whatever we produce, we will not be able to sell.
All right, Lagos, Nigeria, you're tuned to Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. And still talking Lagos, you're listening to Lagos Farmers. You're wondering who's been taking us to the classroom this afternoon. I have Dr. Oluwarotimi Fashola in the studio. He is the special advisor to Mr. Governor on agriculture and food systems. You can be a part of the conversation by sending a text to us on 0809 9120 777. You can also put a call through to be a part of the conversation. Now, Dr. Fashola, still talking about climate and, how well rice you would perform in Lagos, growing it in Ekpe, Badagry or Ikorodu. Let's talk about the climate now and how it affects this production, because I know in some parts of the country we have the rainy season twice in a year, but in Lagos, I don't know, is that the case?
Well, the climate change had changed a lot of things. Indeed, it's a climate change. Up till yesterday, we had rains. Usually, you shouldn't be having rains in December. This should be a harvest period, but we're still having rains. And that also affects our soil type. Between Ekpe, Ikorodu, and Badagry, Ekpe, Ikorodu has better soil than Badagry. Badagry soils are very sandy, which means that my input that I'm going to use to grow rice in Badagry will be more than my input I'm going to use in Ekpe or Ikorodu. And cost of input is also part of my cost of production. So we have to balance that. And when it comes to climate change, because of the sandy nature of soils in Badagry, I'll require more water to grow area of rice. If I'm growing a meter square of rice, the amount of water I'm going to use, it's almost 3 times if I'm growing in Ekpe, for example. So all this we need to balance. Now, if we're planting, usually our planting season is supposed to be between June and August, and I'm harvesting and there's still rain, then I'm having a loss of crop. The farms right now in Badagry are harvesting. With the rains yesterday, it affects their crop, because when you're harvesting rice, it does not want rain. If it has rain, the quality of seed will drop. The quality of product will drop. Again, that's an advantage that the North are having because they can guarantee there's no rain during their harvest season. If you have rain during your flowering season, you will lose twice, almost half of your crop, because the flowering season of rice do not want rain on a constant basis. So these are balances we have to do. And this is why we watch where we grow. When we grow, we actually monitor a 5-year rainfall pattern to determine when to grow appropriately. And even at that, because of the changing climate, we still have some misses of having rain suddenly when you don't expect it. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, preparation for rice farming in a place like Lagos. Yes, to a layman can actually grow tomato. A layman can probably even grow vegetable. But rice, it requires some technicalities. Can you walk us through some of these processes? Just so someone is out there thinking, okay, so I have an acre of land in my hometown, instead of leaving it to like fallow, or it might even be a Lagosian, living in their ancestral home.
For rice, it is better to have clusters of rice, clusters of farm. Having 1 acre dotted across the state is not how rice should grow.
Okay.
Not because you can't grow it, but because you have a high infestation of birds. Quilla birds, the impact on 1 hectare is more than an impact on 1,000 hectares.
Ooh, tell me about it.
And quilla birds can't finish your rice. You can lose 60% of your rice if it's isolated. So in other words, just having 1 acre of land at the back of my field, and I'm not using net, or I'm not there to control the bot, to have a proper bot control, is going to cost me more. But if we have clusters, then the cluster farming will help you to be able to have a better bot control measures. Because rice is not just something you wake up and say, I want to grow. It's something you need to look at it. You need to look at the soil terrain. You need to look at a lot of environmental factor to be able to grow rice successfully.
Let's talk about the challenges the state government is facing or must have faced in rice production and how they are working towards it to, produce more rice for Lagosians. Before we start talking about the gains.
Well, I would say that the challenges are part of what everybody will be facing.
Of course, but to a layman, I might not necessarily think you have challenges. My own is bring the rice. You are the government.
Yeah,
provide
sure. For example, a stretch of land in Itoiki that we used to grow rice. We've seen situations where the real estate people are coming into it because of pressure of having housing, encroaching on it. It's a challenge. Those areas are farmlands, but now they're establishing housing estates to it. Badagry is still open, but the soil condition is high. Therefore, we need to use a lot of machines, to use a lot of input, and that's what that's what the state government is now putting in place. Now we're having to have machines brought in, courtesy of Mr. Governor, and also inputs. Originally Lagos was not seen as an agrarian state. So oftentimes when fertilizer and all that are distributed, that the volume we get in Lagos are reduced. But now we're putting ourselves forward to say, look, we are into agriculture and we need these inputs for our farmers. And that's why. So right now we have tractors, we have fertilizers coming in to complement the production of our farmers that are devoting their time to grow rice.
All right. I have a question for you from Wilson. Wilson from Ogba says, good evening to you, Taiwo. I am so glad listening to the essay to the governor on agric. About 3 years ago, Lagos launched its rice mill with lots of fanfare. And if I am not mistaken, the man in the studio is the one driving the project. I would like him to tell us, honestly, how many tons of rice has that mill generated in 3 years? What is the capacity of that mill? Or is it a white elephant project? How rice secure is Lagos with the mill? Wilson, thank you for this one.
Well, Wilson, thank you very much. The rice mill was commissioned in January 2023. We are in December of 2025 now. And right now I can tell you that we've done well over 50,000 tons. In layman's term, we have hundreds of bags of rice to sell this December. And when I say hundreds, Mr. Governor had put it well over 200,000 bags of rice is available for sale, which we're selling. Rice in Lagos is available.
Did you say 15 million tons or 50 million tons?
15,000.
15,000.
No, I said 50,000
50,000 tons.
Yeah.
Can you
had been processed?
Yes. Can you by chance give a figure of, or the statistics of how much rice Lagosians consume
now
daily?
By our population, if we take a population of 22 million, or take a population of 25...
Over 22 million.
Yeah, 22 million. Lagos requires close to 20 million bags. That's almost 1.5 million metric tons. But in 50 kg bags, we require more than 20 million bags of 50 kg. And Imota is designed to do 10 to 20% of that as stability, price stability.
Yeah.
And that's what, it's a gradual process to get to that goal.
Can I ask a question about how eco-rice has evolved in time past? Because we know that availability and quality are two major factors. So Lagosians are actually curious to know that how has it been able to improve over time in terms of the quality, affordability, availability, and then the hygienically processed ones they have in the market now as against the ones we had before?
Thank you. That's beautiful because we actually have eco-rice is one of the topmost quality in the country as at today.
Amazing.
And just about 2 weeks ago, we even went further to have eco-rice fortified. In other words, the utilization, some part of our rice now is fortified with iron, with folic acid, and with the big complexes, the vitamin B3, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, which are very important for brain development for youths, babies, and young adults. Is actually the product that are being used for school feeding program and for mothers and child nutrition. So we're not just doing just the normal rice that everybody, we also have the capacity for fortification. And for those who had tractors, for those who had monitors, we started with a very small mill, a 2.5 tons per hour mill. Now we have a 32 tons per hour mill.
Amazing.
I mean, and our quality from just few bags, our quality had grown, tremendously, that we actually rank quite high in scheme of things. In other words, we're one of the best quality rice that you can get anywhere.
Let me mention this to you now before we wrap it up on the show. We might probably bring you for a second phase of this conversation because it's never going to end. But before we wrap it up on the program, talk to me about the sustainability of this rice project in Lagos. I asked this question before you answer it. Talk to me, what's happened to Lake Rice? Is it still in existence? Or is that what metamorphosed into a core rice? Sustainability of a rice project.
We need to really understand the concept of lake rice. I wrote the papers for lake rice.
Talk to me.
The lake rice was supposed to be paddy aggregated by Kebbi, milled in Lagos.
In Lagos.
However, there was a distortion in it, in which we were not doing the aggregation of Kebbi rice. We were now buying finished product from Kebbi. And that is why when Mr. Governor came in, he went back to what we were supposed to be doing, processing paddy rice in Lagos, providing jobs and providing the quality. And that's what eco-rice now stands for. That's why we're doing the production, we're doing the processing, we're doing partnership to aggregate, because we cannot have enough production in Lagos. So that we can, maintain a standard, we can control the quality and be sure of the quality. Since our commissioning, every batch that had gone out, we have a store. So we can make a reference back. We can have a traceability of source. We can tell you that at so time, this batch, this is what it is. And those are quality control measures that we have in place.
Let's talk about one more thing before we wrap it up on the show. Talk to me about job creation and how much the Eco Rise has, helped with job creation in Lagos.
That's a lot, because we have...
Can you put a figure to it?
Yes. On site at the Imota, we have close to 300 people working there. Now, you can imagine the direct and indirect activity. We have over 200,000 that indirectly have one thing or the other to do with, the production, the processing, and the supply chain, because it's a continuous chain of activity. So by the time we even put in the logistic part of it, not to talk of those who do sacks for us, because we do sacks and all that, we're talking millions of jobs being created indirectly.
All right, Lagos, Nigeria. It's been an interesting conversation on Lagos farmers this afternoon. I'm afraid we're running out of time, and certainly we might be bringing Dr. Oluwarotimi Fashola back on the program to continue this conversation. I must say a very big thank you to you for coming on the show this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's edition of Lagos Farmers. We hope the insight shared on rice production, the partnership, with other state government, actually helped you understand one or two, as regards how the Lagos state government is working really hard to reduce hunger in the land and then increase rice production. Rice is very important to us in this part of the world. Maximum thanks to Abimbola Shakira Majolagbe. She is my co-anchor on the show this afternoon. Very much in the studio with us. I have Aderonke Toju to be also very much in the building. Big ups to you all for tuning in this afternoon. And of course, a big thanks to our social media team. Big shout out to Victor Terry, our executive producer, is Tayo Akonli. I remain Taiwo Barowa. The program makes a return next week, Friday at 4:30. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Friday.
The bombs, curves, screeches, and totals.